Chapter 15, Plant Growth and Development. You have already studied the organization of a flowering plant in Chapter 5. Have you ever thought about where and how the structures like roots, stems, leaves, flowers, fruits, and seeds arise, and that too in an orderly sequence? You are by now aware of the terms seed, seedlings, plantlets, mature plant. You have also seen that trees continue to increase in height or girth over a period of time. However, the leaves, flowers, and fruits of the same tree not only have limited dimensions but also appear and fall periodically and sometimes repeatedly. Why does vegetative phase precede flowering in a plant? All plant organs are made up of variety of tissues. Is there any relationship between the structure of a cell, a tissue, and organ and the function they perform? Can the structure and the function of these be altered? All cells of a plant are descendants of the zygote. The question is then why and how do they have different structural and functional attributes? Development is the sum of two processes, growth and differentiation. To begin with, it is essential and sufficient to know that the development of a mature plant from a zygote fertilized egg follow a precise and highly ordered succession of events. During this process, a complex body organization is formed that precedes that produces roots, leaves, branches, flowers, fruits, and seeds, and eventually they die. Figure 15.1. The first step in the process of plant growth is seed germination. The seed germinates when favorable conditions for growth exist in the environment. In absence of such favorable conditions, the seeds do not germinate and goes into a period of suspended growth or rest. Once favorable conditions return, the seed resumes metabolic activities and growth takes place. In this chapter, you shall also study some of the factors which govern and control these developmental processes. These factors are both intrinsic, internal, and extrinsic, external to the plant. 15.1 Growth. Growth is regarded as one of the most fundamental and conspicuous characteristic of a living being. What is growth? Growth can be defined as an irreversible permanent increase in size of an organ or its part or even of an individual cell. Generally, growth is accompanied by metabolic processes, both anabolic and catabolic, that occur at the expense of energy. Therefore, for example, expansion of a leaf is growth. How would you describe the swelling of a piece of wood when placed in water? 15.1.1 Plant growth generally is indeterminate. Plant growth is unique because plants retain the capacity for unlimited growth throughout their life. This ability of the plant is due to the presence of meristems at certain locations in their body. The cells of such meristems have the capacity to divide and self perpetuate. The product, however, soon loses the capacity to divide, and such cells make up the plant body. This form of growth, wherein new cells are always being added to the plant body by the activity of the meristem, is called the open form of growth. What would happen if meristem ceases to divide? Does this ever happen? In chapter 6, you have studied about the root apical meristem and the shoot apical meristem. You know that they are responsible for the primary growth of the plants and principally contribute to the elongation of the plants along their axis. You also know that in dicotyledonous plants and gymnosperms, the lateral meristems, vascular cambium, and core cambium appear later in life. These are the meristems that cause the increase in girth of an organ in which they are active. This is known as secondary growth of the plant. See figure 15.2. 15.1.2 Growth is measurable. Growth at a cellular level is principally a consequence of increase in the amount of protoplasm. Since increase in protoplasm is difficult to measure directly, one generally measures some quantity which is more or less proportional to it. Growth is therefore measured by a variety of parameters, some of which are increase in fresh weight, dry weight, length, area, volume, and cell number. You may find it amazing to know that one single maize root apical meristem can give rise to more than 17,500 new cells per hour, whereas cells in the watermelon may increase in size by up to 3,50,000 times. In the former, growth is expressed as increase in cell number. The latter expresses growth as increase in size of the cell. While the growth of a pollen tube is measured in terms of its length, an increase in surface area denotes the growth in a dorsiventral leaf. 15.1.3 Phases of growth. The period of growth is generally divided into three phases, namely meristematic, elongation, and maturation. Figure 15.3. Let us understand this by looking at the root tips. The constantly dividing cell both at the root apex and the shoot apex represent the meristematic phase of growth. The cells in this region are rich in protoplasm, possesses large conspicuous nuclei. Their cell wall are primary in nature, thin and cellulosic with abundant plasmodesmatal connections. The cells proximal just next away from the tip to the meristematic zone represent the phase of elongation. Increased vacuolation, cell enlargement, and new cell wall deposition are the characteristics of the cell in this phase. Further, away from the apex, that is more proximal to the phase of elongation, lies the portion of axis which is undergoing the phase of maturation. The cells in this zone attain their maximal size in terms of wall thickening and protoplasmic modifications. Most of the tissues and cell types you have studied in Chapter 6 represent this phase. 15.1.4 Growth rates. The increased growth per unit time is termed as growth rate. Thus, rate of growth can be expressed mathematically. An organism or a part of the organism can produce more cells in a variety of ways. The growth rate shows an increase that may be arithmetic or geometrical. Figure 15.4. In arithmetic growth, following mitotic cell division, only one daughter cell continues to divide while the other differentiates and matures. The simplest expression of arithmetic growth is exemplified by a root elongating at a constant rate. Look at the figure 15.5. On plotting the length of the organ against time as a linear curve is obtained. Mathematically, it is expressed as LT is equal to L0 plus RT. LT length at time t, L0 length at time 0, R growth rate or elongation per unit time. Let us now see what happens in geometrical growth. In most systems, the initial growth is slow, lag phase, and it increases rapidly thereafter at an exponential rate, log or exponential phase. Here, both the progeny cells following mitotic cell division retain the ability to divide and continue to do so. However, with limited nutrient supply, the growth slows down, leading to a stationary phase. If we plot the parameter of growth against time, we get a typical sigmoid or S curve. Figure 15.6. A sigmoid curve is a characteristic of living organism growing in a natural habitat. It is typical for all cells, tissues, and organs of a plant. Can you think of more similar examples? What kind of a curve can you expect in a tree showing seasonal activities? The exponential growth can be expressed as W1 is equal to W0 e to the power RT. W1 final size, weight, height, number, etc. W0 initial size at the beginning of the period. R growth rate. T time of growth. E base of natural logarithms. Here R is the relative growth rate and is also the measure of the ability of a plant to produce new plant material, referred to as efficiency index. Hence, the final size of W1 depends on the initial size W0. Quantitative comparison between the growth of living system can also be made in two ways. First, measurement and the comparison of total growth per unit time is called the absolute growth rate. The growth of the given system per unit time expressed on the common basis. Example, per unit initial parameter is called the relative growth rate. In figure 15.7, two leaves A and B are drawn that are of different sizes but shows absolute increase in area in a given time to give leaves A1 and B1. However, one of them show much higher relative growth rate. Which one and why? 15.1.5 Conditions for growth. Why do you not try to write down what you think are necessary conditions for growth? This list may have water, oxygen, and nutrients as very essential elements for growth. The plant cells grow in size by cell enlargement, which in turn requires water. Turgidity of cells helps in extension growth. Thus, plant growth and further development is intimately linked to the water status of the plant. Water also provides the medium for enzymatic activity needed for growth. Oxygen helps in releasing metabolic energy essential for growth activities. Nutrients, macro and micro essential elements are required by plants for the synthesis of protoplasm and act as a source of energy. In addition, every plant organism has an optimum temperature range best suited for its growth. Any deviation from this range would be detrimental to its survival. Environmental signals such as light and gravity also affect certain phases or stages of growth. 15.2 Differentiation, dedifferentiation, and redifferentiation. The cells derived from root apical and shoot apical meristems and cambium differentiate and mature to perform specific functions. This act leading to a maturation is termed as differentiation. During differentiation, cells undergo few to measure structural changes both in their cell wall and protoplasm. For example, to form a trachary element, the cell would lose their protoplasm. They also develop a very strong, elastic, lignocellulosic secondary cell wall to carry water to long distances even under extreme tension. Try to correlate the various anatomical features you encounter in plant to the function they perform. Plants show another interesting phenomenon. The living, differentiated cell that by now have lost the capacity to divide can regain the capacity of division under certain conditions. This phenomena is termed as dedifferentiation. For example, formation of meristems, interfascicular cambium and core cambium from fully differentiated parenchyma cells. While doing so, such meristems tissues are able to divide and produce cells that once again lose the capacity to divide but mature to perform specific functions, that is, get redifferentiated. List some of the tissues in a woody dicotyledonous plant that are the products of redifferentiation. How would you describe a tumor? What would you call the parenchyma cell that are made to divide under controlled laboratory conditions during the plant tissue culture? Recall in section 15.1.1 we have mentioned that the growth in plants is open, that is, it can be indeterminate or determinate. Now, we may say that even differentiation in plants is open because cells, tissues arising out of the same meristem have different structures at maturity. The final structure at maturity of a cell tissue is also determined by the location of the cell within. For example, cells positioned away from root apical meristems differentiate as root cap cells, while those pushed to the periphery mature as epidermis. Can you add a few more examples of open differentiation correlating the position of a cell to its position in an organ? 15.3 Development. Development is a term that includes all changes that an organism goes through during its life cycle from germination of the seed to senescence. Diagrammatic representation of the sequence of processes which constitute the development of a cell of a higher plant is given in figure 15.8. It is also applicable to tissues or organs. Plants follow different pathways in response to environment or phases of life to form different kinds of structures. This ability is called plasticity. Example, heterophyly in cotton, coriander and larkspur. In such plants, the leaves of the juvenile plant are different in shape from those in mature plants. On the other hand, differences in shapes of leaves produced in air and those produced in water in buttercup also represent the heterophilous development due to environment. Figure 15.9. This phenomenon of heterophyly is an example of plasticity. Thus, growth, differentiation, and development are very closely related events in the life of a plant. Broadly, development is considered as a sum of growth and differentiation. Development in plant, that is, both growth and differentiation, is under the control of intrinsic and extrinsic factors. The former include both intracellular genetic or intercellular factors, chemicals such as plant growth regulators, while the latter includes light, temperature, water, oxygen, nutrition, etc. 15.4 Plant growth regulators. 15.4.1 Characteristics. The plant growth regulators (PGRs) are small, simple molecules of diverse chemical composition. They could be indole compounds, indole 3-acetic acid IAA, adenine derivatives, N6-furfuryl aminopurine kinetin, derivatives of carotenoids, abscisic acid ABA, terpenes, gibberellic acid GA3, or gases ethylene C2H5, C2H4. Plant growth regulators are variously described as plant growth substances, plant hormones, or phytohormones in literature. The PGRs can be broadly divided into two groups based on their functions in the living plant body. One group of PGRs are involved in growth promoting activities such as cell division, cell enlargement, pattern formation, tropic growth, flowering, fruiting, and seed formation. These are also called plant growth promoters, example auxin, gibberellins, and cytokinins. The PGRs of the other group play an important role in plant response to wounds, stresses of biotic and abiotic origin. They are also involved in various growth inhibiting activities such as dormancy and abscission. The PGR abscisic acid belong to this group. The gaseous PGR ethylene could fit either of the groups, but it is largely an inhibitor of growth activities. 15.4.2 The discovery of plant growth regulators. Interestingly, the discovery of each of the five major group of PGRs have been accidental. All this started with the observation of Charles Darwin and his son Francis Darwin when they observed that the calyptiles of canary grass respond to unilateral illumination by growing towards the light source, phototropism. After a series of experiments, it was concluded that the tip of calyptile was a site of transmittable influence that caused the bending of the entire calyptile. Figure 15.10. Auxine was isolated by F. W. Wendt from tips of calyptiles of oats seedling. The Pecan foolish seedling disease of rice seedlings was caused by a fungal pathogen Gibberella fujikuri. E. Kurosawa, 1926, reported the appearance of symptoms of a disease in rice seedlings when they were treated with sterile filtrates of the fungus. The active substances were later identified as gibberellic acid. F. Scoop and his co-workers observed that from the internodal segments of tobacco stems the callus, a mass of undifferentiated cells proliferated only if in addition to auxine the nutrient medium was supplemented with one of the following: extract of vascular tissue, yeast extract, coconut milk, or DNA. Miller et al. 1955 later identified and crystallized the cytokinesis promoting active substance that they termed kinetin. During mid 1960s, three independent researchers reported the purification and chemical characterization of three different kinds of inhibitors: inhibitor B, abscission 2, and dormin. Later, all the three were proved to be chemically identical. It was named abscisic acid ABA. H. Cousins, 1910, confirmed the release of a volatile substance from ripened oranges that hastened the ripening of stored unripened bananas. Later, this volatile substance was identified as ethylene, a gaseous PGR. Let us study some of the physiological effects of these five categories of PGRs in the next section. 15.4.3 Physiological effects of plant growth regulators. 15.4.3.1 Auxins. Auxins, from Greek auxin, to grow, was first isolated from human urine. The term auxin is applied to the indole 3-acetic acid IAA and to other natural and synthetic compounds having certain growth regulating properties. They are generally produced by the growing apices of the stems and roots, from where they migrate to the regions of their action. Auxins like IAA and indole butyric acid IBA have been isolated from plants. NAA, naphthalene acetic acid, and 2,4-D, 2,4-dichlorophenoliacetic are synthetic oxenes. All these oxenes have been used extensively in agricultural and horticultural practices. They help to initiate rooting in stem cuttings, an application widely used for plant propagation. Auxins promote flowering. Example in pineapples, they help to prevent fruit and leaf drop at early stages but promote the abscission of older mature leaves and fruits. In most higher plants, the growing apical bud inhibits the growth of the lateral axillary buds, a phenomenon called apical dominance. Removal of shoot tips, decapacitation usually result in the growth of lateral buds. Figure 15.11. It is widely applied in tree plantations, hedge making. Can you explain why? Auxins also induce parthenocarpy. Example in tomatoes. They are widely used as herbicides. 2,4-D, widely used to kill dicotyledonous weeds, does not affect mature monocotyledonous plants. It is used to prepare weed-free lawns by gardeners. Auxin also controls xylem differentiation and help in cell division. 15.4.3.2 Gibberellins. Gibberellins are another kind of promotory PGR. There are more than 100 gibberellins reported from widely different organisms such as fungi and higher plants. They are denoted as GA1, GA2, GA3 and so on. However, gibberellic acid GA3 was one of the first gibberellins to be discovered and remain the most intensively studied form. All GAs are acidic. They produce a wide range of physiological responses in the plants. Their ability to cause an increase in length of the axis is used to increase the length of grape stalks. Gibberellins cause fruits like apples to elongate and improve its shape. They also delay senescence. Thus, the fruit can be left on the tree longer so as to extend the market period. GA3 is used to speed up the malting process in brewing industry. Sugarcane stores carbohydrate as sugar in their stems. Spraying sugarcane crop with gibberellins increases the length of stem, thus increasing the yield by as much as 20 tons per acre. Spraying juvenile conifers with GAs hasten the maturity period, thus leading to early seed production. Gibberellins also promote bolting, internode elongation just prior to flowering in beets, cabbage, and many plants with rosette habit. 15.4.3.3 Cytokinins. Cytokinins have specific effect on cytokinesis and were discovered as kinetin, a modified form of adenine, a purine, from the autoclaved herring sperm DNA. Kinetin does not occur naturally in plants. Search for natural substances with cytokinin-like activities lead to the isolation of zeatin from corn kernels and coconut milk. Since the discovery of zeatin, several naturally occurring cytokinin and some synthetic compounds with division promoting activity have been identified. Natural cytokinins are synthesized in regions where rapid cell division occurs. For example, root apices, developing shoot buds, young fruits, etc. It helps to produce new leaves, chloroplast in leaves, lateral shoot growth, and adventitious shoot formation. Cytokinins help overcome the apical dominance. They promote nutrient mobilization, which help in the delay of leaf senescence. 15.4.3.4 Ethylene. Ethylene is a simple gaseous PGR. It is synthesized in large amount by tissues undergoing senescence and ripening fruits. Influences of ethylene on plant include horizontal growth of seedlings, swelling of the axis, and apical hook formation in dicot seedlings. Ethylene promotes senescence and abscission of plant organ, especially of the leaf and flowers. Ethylene is highly effective in fruit ripening. It enhances the respiration rate during ripening of the fruits. This rise in rate of respiration is called respiratory climactic. Ethylene breaks seed and bud dormancy, initiates germination in peanut seed, sprouting of potato tubers. Ethylene promotes rapid internode petiole elongation in deep water rice plants. It helps leaves or upper part of the shoot to remain above water. Ethylene also promotes root growth and root hair formation, thus helping the plant to increase their absorption surface. Ethylene is used to initiate flowering or for synchronizing fruit set in pineapples. It also induces flowering in mango. Since ethylene regulates so many physiological processes, it is one of the most widely used PGR in agriculture. The most widely used compound as a source of ethylene is ethifone. Ethifone is an aqueous solution of readily absorbed and transported within the plant and releases ethylene slowly. Ethifone hastens fruit ripening in tomatoes and apples and accelerate abscission in flowers and fruits. Thinning of cotton, cherry, walnut. It promotes female flowers in cucumber, thereby increasing the yield. 15.4.3.5 Abscisic acid. As mentioned earlier, abscisic acid ABA was discovered for its role in regulating abscission and dormancy. But like other PGRs, it also has other wide-ranging effects on plant growth and development. It acts as a general plant growth inhibitor and an inhibitor of the plant metabolism. ABA inhibits seed germination. ABA stimulates the closure of stomata and increase the tolerance of plant to various kinds of stresses. Therefore, it is also called the stress hormone. ABA plays an important role in seed development, maturation, and dormancy. By inducing dormancy, ABA helps seeds to withstand desiccation and other factors unfavorable for growth. In most situations, ABA acts as an antagonist to GAs. We may summarize that for any and every phase of growth, differentiation, and development of plants, one or the other PGR has some role to play. Such roles could be complementary or antagonistic. These could be individualistic or synergistic. Similarly, there are a number of events in the life of a plant where more than one PGR interact to affect that event. Example, dormancy of seed or buds, abscission, senescence, apical dominance, etc. Remember, the role of PGR is of only one kind of intrinsic control. Along with genomic control and extrinsic factors, they play an important role in plant growth and development. Many of the extrinsic factors, such as temperature and light, control plant growth and development via PGR. Some of such events could be vernalization, flowering, dormancy, seed germination, plant movements, etc. We shall discuss briefly the role of light and temperature, both of them the extrinsic factors, on initiation of flowering. 15.5 Photoperiodism. It has been observed that some plants require a periodic exposure to light to induce flowering. It is also seen that such plants are able to measure the duration of exposure to light. For example, some plants require the exposure to light for a period exceeding a well defined critical duration, while others must be exposed to light for a period less than this critical duration before the flowering is initiated in them. The former group of plants is called the long day plants, while the latter ones are termed as short day plants. The critical duration is different for different plants. There are many plants, however, where there is no such correlation between exposure to light duration and induction of flowering response. Such plants are called day neutral plants. Figure 15.12. It is now also known that not only the duration of light period but that the duration of dark period is also of equal importance. Hence it can be said that flowering in certain plants depend not only on a combination of light and dark exposure but also on their relative durations. This response of the plants to period of day or night is termed photoperiodism. It is also interesting to note that while shoot apices modifies themselves into flowering apices prior to flowering, they, that is, shoot apices of plants by themselves cannot pursue photoperiods. The site of perception of light or dark duration are the leaves. It has been hypothesized that there is a hormonal substance that is responsible for flowering. This hormone this hormonal substance migrates from leaf to shoot apices for inducing flowering only when the plants are exposed to the necessary inductive photoperiod. 15.6 Vernalization. There are plants for which flowering is either quantitative or qualitatively dependent on exposure to low temperature. This phenomenon is termed vernalization. It prevents precocious reproductive development late in the growing season and enables the plant to have sufficient time to reach maturity. Vernalization refers especially to the promotion of flowering by the period of low temperature. Some important food plants, wheat, barley, rye, have two kinds of varieties: winter and spring varieties. The spring varieties are normally planted in the spring and come to flower and produce grain before the end of growing season. Wheat variety, however, if planted in spring, would normally fail to flower or produce mature grain within a span of flowering season. Hence, they are planted in autumn. They germinate and over winter come out as small seedlings, resume growth in the spring, and are harvested during usually around midsummer. Another example of vernalization is seen in biennial plants. Biennials are monocarpic plants that normally flower and die in the second season. Sugar beet, cabbages, carrots are some of the common biennials. Subjecting the growing of the biennial plant to a cold treatment stimulates a subsequent photoperiodic flowering response. 15.7 Seed dormancy. There are certain seeds which fail to germinate even when external conditions are favorable. Such seeds are understood to be undergoing a period of dormancy which is controlled not by external environment but are under endogenous control or conditions within the seed itself. Impermeable and hard seed coat. Presence of chemical inhibitors such as abscisic acids, phenolic acids, peroascorbic acids, and immature embryos are some of the reasons which causes seed dormancy. This dormancy, however, can be overcome through natural means and various other man-made measures. For example, the seed coat barrier in some seeds can be broken by the mechanical aberrations using knives, sandpaper, etc., or vigorous shaking. In nature, these aberrations are caused by microbial action and passage through digestive tracts of animals. Effect of inhibitory substances can be removed by subjecting the seeds to chilling conditions or by application of certain chemicals like gibberellic acid and nitrates. Changing the environmental conditions such as light and temperature are other methods to overcome seed dormancy.